Stapleton, of course, was crying about the running game as we were sitting there texting, the three of us. And I was concerned too, I'll be honest, because we can talk about holes or, not lack of big runs, whatever it is, whoever's to blame, but I wasn't seeing the push. And then we ask you and you say, you know what, it was better than last week, and quit your crying. There's not a whole lot of complaint about. These guys are going to clean it up. What'd you see?
Well, listen, I don't. If people are using the standard of the last game last year against Ohio State as the new expectation that we're supposed to just rip off 70, 80 yarders every other possession, that's not real. And so, let's keep it a little perspective here. You've got teams that are committed to trying to stop what Michigan is stating every week they're going to do, which is run it down your throat. So I think just by nature, you've got defensive coordinators, and UNLV was no different, playing aggressively against the run. And at times they were in our running lanes again, but at other times Corum had all kinds of room in front of them to make cuts. The only thing that schematically that I noticed a little bit different against UNLV that maybe out of week one, I saw a little more zone blocking than I have in the last couple of years. Some zone schemes, right, left, and it's fine and dandy. It's
describe that a little bit again. Zone schemes compared to something else.
So real simple. Michigan's base offense, which is double team, go to a backside linebacker, smash down the front side and pull people around. That's gap man blocking, for lack of a better term. Gap man blocking, power football, right? And you saw a lot of that. We saw the Lions do some of that against the Kansas City Chiefs very effectively, by the way. And so that's been Michigan's bread and butter the last 2 years, just mauling people. The curveball the last couple of years has been zone blocking, which is you don't have a man. As an offensive lineman, you come to the line. Doesn't matter right tackle all the way over to left tackle. You block a zone. You block a gap, and you block whoever shows up in it. So at the snap of the football, everybody steps to the right, and you're looking in an area, and whatever opposite color shows, you block it. And it works really, really effectively, but it's a different style of running. And the running backs are taught you have to take 3 steps in that direction of the zone scheme before you're allowed to look and see your seam. It could be front side if you're going to the right. It could be a seam where you plant your foot and you cut it backside. And then sometimes it goes all the way back if the linebackers are scraping over the top heavy, the running backs are allowed to make those cuts. And zone blocking is very, very effective. We did it, Ballas, back in the 90s so well that we got one of those T-shirts you're wearing, right? We were very good at it. And the Denver Broncos back in the day really were the ones who were the blueprint for doing this kind of blocking. Michigan did more of that Saturday against UNLV that I had seen in a while. Corum had a lot of really nice runs with the zone blocking scheme. And yet at times there was some dudes still standing at the line of scrimmage. It doesn't seem like Donovan Edwards can really get going. But every time I see, a guy that's, whether it's Edwards or Corum, trying to get going the running game, it feels like the safeties are playing up really strong, really fast. And when you're designing a run blocking play, you don't account for the safety. The running back has to make that guy miss. And so I don't, I know there's a lot of people, freaking out about Michigan's not ripping off runs like they're supposed to because we're supposed to have this wonderfully dominant offensive line. And I think it's going to get there. We're just not there yet. And so there's still a little clunkiness here and there, but I thought it was better than week one. And so I'm not hitting the alarm bells. Just as a matter of statistics, after week 2, Ballas, Michigan is 74th in the nation in rushing offense, averaging 150.5 yards per game. Not where we thought they would be, right? So, but if next week when we talk, they get up to make a big stride forward, and another one after that, another one after that, then that's where this team is going to get to. And I keep saying this, it takes a while for an offensive line to find its groove. And oftentimes it doesn't happen in September. And that's okay because we're still dominating these opponents that we're playing. And next Saturday should be no different. And so I'm not hitting any panic buttons because I did see some progress.
And I asked Mike Hart, Michigan's run game coordinator and running backs coach, about it because he was sitting in for Jim Harbaugh as acting head coach in the second half. And he said, Blake, too, is not being patient. He said he's not hitting the holes and he's trying to do too much on every play and go the distance on every play rather than just letting it happen like he has in the past. And he said, just be yourself, man. Just relax and be who you are and trust it, and it will happen. But the one thing I've noticed, and it's usually backwards, it's usually like, okay, these guys are mauling people up front in the run game, and then the pass game takes some time. But I think the pass blocking, again, has been fantastic. The way they're I thought UNLV, I saw a lot of three-man rush. I didn't see a whole lot of exotic twists and stuff. Did you?
No, no,
Okay,
no,
right.
I didn't.
Well,
It was an occasional blitz or two, but they really
right,
were dropping more people than they were bringing.
right,
And I thought the pass pro was nice. Nugent in the center, they had a really nice couple one-on-ones where he didn't need
good.
any help, even though he had help from his left guard.
Hmm.
And so that part looked pretty clean.
Right. And it's usually in reverse, right? You're waiting
Hmm.
for these guys, especially a group that hasn't really played much together. And you and I we'll go back to that Wisconsin game when Brandon Peters got just about killed up
Oh,
there. And you had guys that have been playing together for a long time that were picking up the basic twists and stuff like that. These guys look like they've been playing together for a long time in that area, which is impressive to me. So kudos to Sharon Moore for that. And I do think I don't know that they get the push that they got last year in some areas, especially in short yardage. Talk to me about those
well,
fourth
well,
and two.
Ballas in this football game, and we got down inside the 5 yard line 2 or 3 times. The V in the middle of that offensive
Hmm.
line, we basically just walked in the end zone.
Right, right,
And that was like, oh my God, is UNLV even trying there? It looked like we just rolled them out.
right.
And so that looked pretty dominating to me.
It did.
And so and yet there was a 4th and 2 where Corum didn't get the first down
Right,
again. And you sit there and you think, okay, well, if we can cram it in the end zone on the 2 yard line, why can't we do the same
right.
thing on the plus 32 or whatever the heck it was?
So why didn't
And,
they?
well, why didn't it? The answer is real simple. If you don't get below the guy in front of you and get your shoulder pads and your hips where they belong, then they're going to beat you. And
Hmm.
on the 4th and 2, they just had more players hitting the same spot. They probably knew the play was coming. And in a perfect state, as you and I have talked about before, everybody knows where the ball is going. Everybody knows the exact gap the ball is going, and yet you still execute the first down. And in that moment, Michigan did not get there. And so there's an area for improvement that Michigan's got to clean up and get better at. But I think for the most part, down inside the 10 yard line, the running game was pretty good.
Yeah, I do too. And Miles Hinton, your thoughts on him? His second start at right tackle. We had
Yeah.
heard that he was going to be there. We told our subscribers on Friday that he'd been working there all week again. And your
Mhm.
thoughts on how he played on Saturday?
I think he's better. I think he's
Okay.
better. He didn't give up the bad pressures that he did the week before. I think he's coming along, getting comfortable out there. We talked about last week. He had said after the opening game that he didn't feel like he played to his potential. He was a little overwhelmed in the moment, maybe. Felt like he settled down a little bit better spots here and there as far as his position and knowing where he needs to be in his combinations and his one-on-ones and even out there on his zones. And so again, it's a work in progress, and he's a certainly more than capable physical guy to be in that right position spot. But he didn't play there last year next to Zinter, and this is only game 3 coming up. And in spite of the fact that he's had all the fall camp and all the reps, it's going to come along. I don't look at Hinton over there at right tackle and go, oh, this guy can't even do it. No way, not even close. This guy clearly can do it. And we have capable backups as well. And Trente Jones comes in there, who's played a lot of football. And so if Hinton's playing, that means he must be much better than a guy that had played a lot at right tackle in Jones. So I feel good about the right tackle position. Barnhart's all right there over at left. I like the interior of this offensive line. And so it's going to be all right. There was a couple leakers over on the edge. I think maybe it was second quarter, maybe it was first quarter. Michigan's moving toward the north end zone. We ran a zone out there, and Cornelius Johnson went out to block a guy and just absolutely whiffed.
Mm-hmm.
And the corner cut right in front of him. And that's run blocking too, Ballas, right? You and I don't break down the details of wide
Right.
receiver run blocking, but it's relative in that Cornelius had a corner playing inside eye there, and the sweep is coming your way. The wide zone is coming your way. He's got to sprint to the inside armpit, and he didn't. And the guy cut right across his face. There's no one else to block him, and it's a tackle for no gain or maybe even a loss in that play. It was just a dud.
Yep.
And so that run blocking, we depend on those slots and wideouts when you're zone blocking, especially if it's wide zone. You better be good out there on the edge as much as you are at the point of attack.